Hi and welcome back. In this video we'll talk about dates and times. Working with dates and times is an extremely useful skill, but it can be quite confusing. In this video we'll look at simplifying working with dates and times slightly using Python built-in modules. Now, I cannot teach you everything there is to know about dates and times. There's just too much, and it's always a contentious and difficult topic, but I can help you and start you in the journey and tell you a bit about how I work with dates and times and how you can work with your users and dates and times. The main date and time module in Python is called datetime. And confusingly enough, one of the most important classes in that module is also called datetime. So we're going to be doing from datetime, import datetime. So here we're importing this datetime class, which is going to allow us to do some stuff. For example, datetime.now. Datetime.now is going to give us the current time of our operating system. As you can see, the current time for me is 15:45. Been recording for a while, should probably stop soon. Now, this is giving you what's called a naive datetime object. A naive object doesn't know about time zones, so it has no information about the time zone. Therefore, if I give this time to a computer in the United States, it's not going to know that they should show a different time. They are going to think, okay, the time that this is showing is 3:45. That's cool. What they don't know is that I am in the UK, and this is the time in the UK. So without a time zone information like this thing here, datetime objects are, I'd say, not very useful. And that's because you cannot give them to anybody. You can't show it to your user because you don't know if that time is correct when you're showing it to them. You don't know where the user is and where you were when you recorded this time, so you cannot possibly show them in a way that's relevant to them. For example, if I went to the United States with this time, it would be in the future. So, not great. So what to do is we can say print, not that, print datetime.now, but we can also pass it in the time zone that we want it in. So for that we have to import datetime, and also we have to import time zone from the datetime module. And what we're going to do is say timezone.utc. UTC is not actually a time zone, but it is the universal time standard. It is the central time, normally matching GMT, and it essentially allows everybody to talk about time with the same frame of reference. So somebody in America who talks about the time in UTC is going to be talking about the same time that I'm talking about when I talk about time in UTC. Even though it's not an actual time zone, no country follows UTC as a time zone. If we print this out, you'll see that the time is the same, but now we have what's called an aware object, a time zone aware object that says +00:00. What this means is that the current time in UTC is equal to the time in UTC with no offset. Okay, so the time here on the left is the UTC time, and now we have that the offset at where this time was taken is 0. So now we know it's a UTC time because the offset is 0. This time here was also a UTC time, but that's because my time zone right now also has an offset of 0, because right now I'm in GMT. And GMT also has an offset of 0 compared to UTC. However, if I did this in the summer, and I did this in the summer as well, these would be different. This would show 1 hour more or less. I can't remember exactly which way it goes, but it would show a different time because I would be in BST, because the UK changes time zone with daylight savings. So, why am I slowing down so much with this thing? It's really important that you get dates correct. Otherwise, your application is going to be showing your users times in the past or in the future. It's going to be really confusing. So what I normally recommend is your programs should always work with UTC times. store UTC times in your database, work with UTC times in your code. When a user gives you a time, like if you ask them, enter the current date, convert that to UTC and work with UTC. And you shall only convert it to a different time zone when you show the user the time. So if I go to America and I have this time stored, what I can do is I can say, this time was taken in a time zone +0. Let's convert it now to -7 when we go to someplace in America, subtract 7 hours from this, and now I can show this in their time zone. And the date and time will now match. So only when you show it to a user, which you must know their time zone in order to do that, of course, you convert it to their time zone. All the rest of the time, you're working with UTC, and that's just going to simplify things massively. Okay, so something else that you can do is, of course, you can do time deltas. Time delta. A time delta is just a difference in time. So you can say that, for example, today is daytime.now and timezone.utc, and tomorrow is today plus time delta, days equal 1. What this does is it gets your current date and time, and it adds a time delta, which is a difference in time. The delta thing comes from mathematics. Essentially just means a difference in time, and the difference that you're applying, that you're adding, is 1 day, 24 hours. Okay. Now, of course, the time is going to be the same time tomorrow as it is today. So again, print today, print tomorrow, run this thing, show it to you, and we have 10th of February, 1551, 11th of February, 1551. So as you can see, same everything except for the day. Now, this leads nicely into the next thing. If you want to format the date and show it in a slightly nicer way, you can do that. So that's good. Normally, you'd see, of course, if you're in the UK, you'd see the day in front, then the month, and then the year. If you're in America, you would have a very weird way of doing things, and you'd show the month first. Or if you're Python, you show the day last, which is just... there's actually a reason for this, which is for sorting. The year goes first, then the month, and then the day for sorting. But of course, for readability, not so great. So what you can do is you can do print today.strftime. That means string, format, time. And inside the brackets, you give it the format that you want. So in my case, I'm going to do %d, %m, %y, big Y, that's important, %h, %m. %d tells the strftime function or method to print out the days. So that's going to be 10. %m, it says months. %big Y says the year as a 4-digit. %h gives you the hours, and %m gives you the minutes. So you can print this out, and you can see that you get now a nice format, where the day is in front, then the month, and then the year, 10th of February 2018. The time is 15:53, and we have lost some precision there, but you can regain it if you want by adding %s there. You can see you get 40 now. You can also add in the milliseconds and the time zone information as well if you want. What's important to remember is that this printout here doesn't have the time zone information printed out, but the object itself still has the time zone information. Okay, we've not lost that. We've just not printed it out because the way we formatted the string matches this data that we've asked for. Okay, similarly, deleted that. You can ask the user for the date, like user date is input. Enter the date in YYYYMMDD format. And then you can convert it, datetime.strp time, this case, user date, %y, %m, %d. Make sure to have a big Y there. And then you can print user date out. Let's print it out. I'll explain what it is in a moment. Now we can see that it asks us for a particular date, let's say 2010, 0505, and now we get 2010, 0505, 000000. We don't have time zone information in here either. So what's happened? we've asked the datetime module to call the strp time, which means string parse time. This is string format time. Parse time. Then we've put in our string that we want to parse. That's whatever the user entered, presumably in this format, yyyy-mm-dd. And then we've said, okay, and by the way, this string is going to be in this format, so now you can understand it. %y is 4-digit year, %m is 2-digit months, %d is 2-digit days. So now the strp time function has the date and its format, and it can join them together and give us a new datetime object that has the appropriate data in it. But of course, we've not given it the hours, minutes, or seconds, so all those default to 0. Okay. Notice how we don't have any time zone information there. We'll have to ask the user for time zone information separately, and we would have to include it in this parse string, or indeed if we wanted to print it out, we'd have to print it out down here. I can't remember from the top of my head exactly what % it is. I think it's %z, but I am going to include a PDF on date parsing and formatting, just these things here, what they mean, how you use them, attached to the resources section of this lecture. So don't go anywhere. Download that if you're keen on knowing a bit more about these dates, how you format them, and how you parse them. And yeah, I just wanted to tell you a bit about these datetime module, some of the things you can do with it. Other thing you can do, by the way, time delta, you can have hours, you can have minutes, you can have seconds, you can have weeks in there. So there's a few things you can do in terms of adding time deltas there. You can, of course, subtract time deltas as well if you want. There's more to do with dates and times, but I cannot possibly cover all of the datetime module without boring you to death, first of all, and also without some more specific use cases for these. So if you do have any questions about dates and times, ask away in the Slack channel, even if they're unrelated to the course. I'll be glad to help you out. And that's really the best way to continue going about it. As you have questions about date and time, find out, research through the Python official documentation, what other people ask in Slack and in Stack Overflow, and that's really going to give you any other tools that you need. But in terms of dealing with simple dates and times in your programs, this should be enough to get you started. You've got datetime objects, time deltas, and you know about time zones as well. And you also are able to format the time and parse any user input as well. So that's it for this video. I hope you've liked it, and I'll see you on the next one.